I was accused of stealing family jewels and thrown out of the house in the rain. 3 weeks later, they found everything hidden in my perfect sister's room. I was 15 years old when I discovered that my own family considered me disposable. My name is Sophia, and I grew up believing I knew what it meant to belong to a family. You spend your entire childhood hearing that blood is thicker than water, that no matter what happens, your family will always have your back, that your parents will protect you, that your siblings will defend you. I wasn't completely naive, but I also wasn't prepared for what happened that March night. From the outside, we were probably a typical family. My mother, Beatriz, was a math teacher, always serious, always busy grading papers late into the night. She had that distant demeanor of someone carrying the weight of the world on their shoulders. My father, Ricardo, worked at a construction company and was the type of man who believed that shouting solved any problem. He had strong opinions about everything and expected everyone to agree without question. My older sister, Camila, was 18 and the definition of perfection in our parents' eyes. Hair always styled, flawless grades, rehearsed smile for visitors. She knew exactly how to manipulate every situation to her advantage, how to make our parents believe any story she told. And then there was me, the middle daughter, always trying to stay invisible, always trying not to cause trouble. When we were younger, Camila and I were close. We played dolls in the backyard, shared secrets at night, made up little stories before bed. But something changed when she entered adolescence. It was as if she had discovered a new power, the ability to shape reality to her favor just by telling the right version of the story. And my parents, especially my father, bought everything without question. It started with small things. A broken glass here, a torn book there. It was Sophia, Camila would say in that sweet, innocent voice. And that was it. No questions, no chance to defend myself. I'd get the scolding, be grounded, while she watched from afar with a gleam of satisfaction in her eyes that only I could perceive. I tried to tell my mother several times. Mom, I swear it wasn't me. Camila is lying. But she would just sigh, too tired to deal with one more conflict. Sophia, don't make excuses. Take responsibility and that's it. Your sister has no reason to lie about you. But she did. Every lie Camila told placed her more at the center of attention, higher on the pedestal our parents had built for her. And every time I was unfairly blamed, I became more invisible, more disposable. Things got worse when I turned 15. School had started a few weeks earlier, and I was trying to focus on my studies, keep my head down as always. But there was tension in the air those days. My father was stressed about work, talking about possible layoffs and budget cuts. My mother was overwhelmed with extra classes at school. Camila was strangely quiet, which was never a good sign. It was on a Thursday night. I was in my room, listening to music and doing homework, when I heard my father yell my name. It wasn't a normal call. It was the kind of yell that makes your stomach turn instantly. Sophia, get down here now. My heart raced. I mentally reviewed everything I had done that day. I had washed the lunch dishes, put the dirty clothes in the hamper, even made my bed. What could I have done wrong? I went down the stairs slowly, each step seeming to weigh a ton. My father was in the living room, his face red with anger, the veins in his neck bulging. My mother was sitting on the couch, hands in her lap, looking at the floor. Camila was leaning against the wall, arms crossed, and had tears in her eyes. Fake tears. I already knew that act. In the center of the coffee table was an open box. My grandmother's jewelry box. Want to explain this? My father asked, pointing to the box. Some pieces were missing. The pearl necklace, the gold earrings, an antique bracelet. I felt my mouth go dry. Explain what? I didn't touch that. Don't lie to me, he roared. Your sister saw you in our room yesterday afternoon, going through the drawers. I turned to Camila, incredulous. I didn't go into your room. I was at Luna's house studying for the history test. Liar, Camila sobbed, wiping tears with the back of her hand. I saw you. You opened the drawer, grabbed the box, and ran off when you heard me coming up the stairs. That's not true. My voice came out louder than I intended. I wasn't even home. You can call Luna's mom, she'll confirm it. My father took a step toward me. I already know what happened. You took the jewels to sell them, didn't you? Need money for something? Drugs? Clothes. Drugs. I almost screamed. Are you crazy? I've never used drugs in my life. Ricardo, calm down. My mother finally spoke, but her voice was weak, unconvincing. Let's talk calmly. Calm, he turned to her. My mother's jewels are missing, Beatriz. Jewels worth a fortune. And this girl here wants me to believe it was a ghost. I didn't take anything, I repeated, feeling tears begin to sting my eyes. Not from sadness, but from pure frustration. Camila is lying. Again. Again. Camila sniffled. Sophia, why do you always try to make me the villain? What did I do to make you hate me so much? Her performance was perfect. Even my mother seemed to believe her, looking at me with a mixture of disappointment and confusion. You know very well what you did, I said through gritted teeth. You've been doing this since we were kids. You lie, blame me, and watch while I get punished for things I didn't do. Enough, my father slammed his hand on the table. I don't want to hear any more excuses. You have until tomorrow morning to return the jewels. If they don't show up, I'm calling the police. My blood froze. The police? Are you serious? Completely serious. Either you return them, or I file a police report. Ricardo, she's our daughter. My mother tried to intervene again. And that's exactly why she needs to learn. He cut her off. Go to your room. You're grounded until you fix this. I looked at each of them. My father, inflexible as always. My mother, unable to defend me. Camila, with that gleam of victory in her eyes that made me feel nauseated. I didn't do anything, I said one more time, but my voice was already broken. No one answered. I went up to my room and locked the door. I sat on the bed, trembling, trying to process what had just happened. My own father had threatened to report me to the police for something I hadn't done. I grabbed my phone and called Luna. She answered on the second ring. Hi, Soph. How are you? Luna, my voice came out shaky. Can you ask your mom to confirm that I was there yesterday afternoon? Studying. There was a pause. Of course, but why? Did something happen? I told her everything. The jewels, the accusation, the threat. Luna was silent for a moment, and then exploded. Your sister is a psychopath. How can someone do that? I don't know, I replied, wiping away the tears. But nobody believes me. My mom will confirm it. I'll ask her to call your parents right now. Thanks, Lou. I hung up and stared at the ceiling, hoping the house phone would ring, that Luna's mom would explain everything, that this mess would end. But the minutes passed and nothing happened. 1 hour turned into 2. I remained alone in my room, with the heavy silence of the house suffocating me. Finally, around 10 at night, I heard knocking on the door. Sophia, it's me. It was my mother. I opened the door. She had a tired expression, but didn't seem to have come to apologize. Luna's mom called, she said. She confirmed you were there yesterday. My heart leaped with hope. So you believe me now? My mother sighed. Your father thinks you might have taken the jewels in the morning, before going to her house. Hope turned to ash. But I didn't take them. Not in the morning. Never. Sophia, please just return the jewels. Nobody's going to report you. We just want the things back. I don't have the jewels. My voice was breaking again. How can I return something I didn't take? My mother closed her eyes, as if dealing with a stubborn child. Then where are they? They didn't disappear on their own. Ask Camila where they are. Your sister wouldn't do that. And there it was. The sentence that defined everything. Camila wouldn't do that. Camila was perfect, incapable of lying, of stealing, of destroying. And me? I was the troublemaker, the rebel, the liar. Fine, I said, my voice completely flat now. You can go. My mother hesitated, as if she were going to say something, but just shook her head and closed the door. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed, listening to the sounds of the house, my parents arguing in low voices in their room, Camila watching something on TV, and me alone, knowing that nothing I said would make a difference. The next morning, when I came downstairs for breakfast, my father was already in the living room on the phone. Yes, I'd like to report a theft, he was saying. My blood froze. He was actually calling the police. Dad, no. I ran to him. I didn't take the jewels. You can't do this. He ignored me completely, continuing to give information to the operator. My mother was in the kitchen with her back to me, making coffee as if nothing were happening. Mom. I called, desperate. Make him stop. Please. She didn't turn around. It was at that moment that something inside me broke. It wasn't dramatic, it wasn't loud. It was just a silent click, like a door closing. I realized I was completely alone. That no matter what I said or did, they had already decided I was guilty. I ran upstairs to my room, grabbed my backpack and started throwing clothes into it. Some t-shirts, pants, my charger, my toothbrush. I didn't really think about what I was doing. I just knew I couldn't stay there. When I came back to the living room, my father had hung up the phone. The police are coming here this afternoon, he said, looking at me with a coldness I had never seen before. "They'll want to talk to you." "I won't be here," I replied. "What do you mean?" "I'm leaving." My mother finally appeared in the kitchen doorway. "Sophia, don't be dramatic." "Dramatic." I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You're accusing me of theft, calling the police, and I'm the one being dramatic." "If you have nothing to hide, you don't need to leave," my father said. "I have nothing to hide, but I'm also not staying in a house where nobody believes me." Camila came down the stairs at that moment, still in pajamas, with that expression of false concern. "Sophia, where are you going?" I stared at her. She held my gaze without blinking, and in that second, I saw it. The satisfaction. The triumph. She knew exactly what she was doing, and she was loving every second of it. "Whatever," I replied and turned to the door. "If you walk out that door now, you won't be welcome back," my father said behind me. I stopped with my hand on the doorknob. I waited for my mother to say something, to ask me to stay, to finally take my side, but the silence was absolute. So I opened the door and left. It was a cold autumn morning. The sky was gray, threatening rain. I started walking without really knowing where I was going. I just walked, putting one foot in front of the other, while my mind tried to process what had happened. Eventually, I found a bus stop and sat on the bench. I grabbed my phone and saw several messages from Luna. "Did my mom call there? Did your parents believe you? Soph, are you okay? Answer me, I'm worried." I typed a quick response, "I left home. I'll explain later." The phone rang immediately. It was Luna. "What?" "Sophia, what happened?" I told her everything. The call to the police, my parents' coldness, the decision to leave. "Come here," Luna said without hesitation. "My parents will understand. You can stay here. I don't want to be a burden. Sophia, you're practically family. Come." And that's how I ended up at Luna's house, sitting on the living room couch while her parents listened to my story with increasingly worried expressions. "This is very serious," Luna's father, Mr. Marcos, said when I finished. "Your parents can't just kick you out of the house like that. You're a minor." "Technically, I left," I replied quietly. "Because of a false accusation," her mother, Mrs. Teresa, added. "Honey, you can stay here as long as you need. But we need to talk to your parents, sort this out properly." I shook my head. "It won't help. They've already decided I'm guilty." "Even so," Mr. Marcos insisted, "I'm going to call them." And he did. I could hear the conversation from across the room. My father answered, and his voice was so loud I could hear it even from far away. "She's there? Great. She can stay. When she wants to come back and apologize, the door is open." Mr. Marcos tried to argue, explain that I was telling the truth, but my father simply hung up the phone on him. Mrs. Teresa came to sit next to me and put her arm around me. "Oh, honey, I'm so sorry." And it was only then that I broke down. I cried like I hadn't cried in years, sobbing on her shoulder while Luna held my hand. Everything I had held in, all the fear, the anger, the feeling of abandonment, came out all at once. I stayed at Luna's house for 3 days. Her parents were kind, gave me space, didn't ask too many questions. Luna tried to distract me with movies and games, but I could barely concentrate on anything. On the 3rd day, while I was sitting in their backyard, my phone rang. It was an unknown number. "Hello. Sophia? This is your school counselor, Dr. Mariana. Can I talk to you?" My heart raced. "Of course. Your parents contacted the school today. They said you've been missing class without justification. They mentioned there's a difficult family situation happening. Can you tell me what's going on?" And for the first time, I told everything to someone besides Luna and her family. I told her about Camila's lies over the years, about the jewels, about the accusation, about the police, about having to leave home. Dr. Mariana listened in silence, taking some notes. "Sophia, what you're describing to me is a pattern of emotional abuse and parental neglect. Do you understand that?" I had never thought of it in those terms before. But hearing the words out loud, coming from a professional, something clicked. I think so. Are you in a safe place now? Can you go back to school?" "I'm at a friend's house. And yes, I can go back." "Great. I want you to come to my office tomorrow morning, before first period. We're going to discuss some options for you." When I hung up, I felt a strange mixture of fear and hope. Maybe finally someone besides me could see the truth. I went back to school the next day, and people looked at me strangely in the hallways. Apparently, rumors were already circulating. I heard she robbed her own family, one girl whispered to her friend as I passed. They said she ran away from home because she was going to be arrested. I ignored everything and went straight to Dr. Mariana's office. She was waiting with someone else, a woman in her 40s with a folder full of papers. Sophia, this is the social worker, Sandra. She works with young people in complicated family situations. I sat down slowly. Sandra smiled gently. Hi, Sophia. Dr. Mariana told me a bit about your situation. I know it can be difficult, but I need you to tell me everything from the beginning. And I told her. Again. Every one of Camila's lies, every time I was punished unfairly, all the way to the story of the jewels. Sandra asked specific questions, wrote everything down, and her expression became increasingly serious. Did your parents actually call the police? She asked. My father said he called. But I don't know if anyone actually came to the house. And the jewels? Did they turn up? I have no idea. Nobody from my family has contacted me since I left. Sandra exchanged a look with Dr. Mariana. Sophia, I'm going to be honest with you, Sandra said. Your situation is delicate. You're a minor and legally your parents are responsible for you. But what you've described, being kicked out of the house over an unproven accusation, the lack of emotional support, the history of being unfairly blamed, this constitutes neglect. What does that mean for me? It means we have options. We can try family mediation, bring your parents here to talk with a mediator present. Or, if you don't feel safe going home, we can explore other alternatives. What kind of alternatives? Youth shelters, assisted living programs. It wouldn't be easy, but you'd have a safe place to stay while things get sorted out. The idea of never going back to that house, of not having to see my father's look of contempt or Camila's fake smile, was tempting. But it was also scary. Can I think about it? Of course. But Sophia, you need to understand something. Staying at your friend's house indefinitely isn't a long-term solution. We need to formalize your situation, whether that's going back home with a mediation agreement or finding a suitable place for you. I left the office with my head spinning. Luna was waiting for me outside. So, what happened? She said I can go to a youth shelter if I want. Or try to work things out with my parents. Luna made a face. And do you want to work things out? I thought about the question. Part of me, that small wounded part that still believed in happy endings, wanted my parents to realize their mistake. For Camila to confess everything, for them to ask for forgiveness, for things to go back to the way they were when I was a child and still felt loved. But the bigger part, the part that had grown up in those last few weeks, knew that was fantasy. I don't know, I answered honestly. The classes that day were a blur. I could barely concentrate, my mind constantly returning to the conversation with Sandra. When the bell finally rang, I just wanted to go back to Luna's house and hide under the covers. But when I left school, I saw a car parked out front. My father's car. My stomach turned. He was leaning against the vehicle, arms crossed, waiting for me. For a moment, I thought about just running the other way. But then I saw who was with him. My maternal grandmother, Mrs. Lucia. I hadn't seen her in months. She lived in another city and rarely visited. But now she was there, standing next to my father, and her face was serious in a way I had never seen before. I walked slowly toward them. Luna grabbed my arm. Want me to stay? She whispered. No, it's okay. I think it's fine. She hesitated, but eventually left, not without looking back several times. Grandma, I said when I got close enough. Sophia, my dear. She opened her arms and I let myself be hugged. I smelled the familiar scent of her perfume, and for a second, I felt safe. When we separated, she looked at my father with an expression I can only describe as deep disappointment. Ricardo, wait in the car. I need to talk to my granddaughter alone. To my surprise, my father didn't argue. He just nodded and got in the car, leaving the door open. Grandma Lucia led me to a nearby bench. Sit here with me, my child. I sat, my hands trembling a little. Grandma, what's happening? She sighed deeply. The jewels turned up. My heart raced. Turned up? Where? In Camila's closet. At the bottom, hidden inside a shoebox. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. Camila hid them there? Did she confess? Not exactly, Grandma said, and there was anger in her voice. Your mother found the jewels yesterday when she was cleaning the room. Camila said you must have put them there to frame her. I laughed. It was a bitter sound without humor. Of course she said that. Sophia, look at me. Grandma held my face with both hands. I've known you since you were born. I know what kind of person you are. And I know that your sister. Well, Camila has always been complicated. Complicated is a generous way of saying manipulative and lying. Grandma didn't disagree. I came to get you because we need to talk. All of us. Your mother, your father, you, me, and Camila. We need to end this situation. What if I don't want to go back? She was quiet for a moment. Then I'll respect your decision. But I think you deserve at least to hear what they have to say. And to say what you need to say too. I looked at the car where my father was sitting, messing with his phone, probably impatient. Did he apologize? No, Grandma admitted. But I expect him to do so. In fact, I insisted that he do it. And Camila? Your sister is at home. Crying, according to your mother. Saying she doesn't understand how the jewels ended up in her room. She's lying again. I know, dear. And this time, I'm not going to let it slide. There was a determination in my grandmother's voice that gave me a glimmer of hope. Not hope that things would be perfect, but that maybe, finally, someone in the family was going to see the truth. Okay, I said. I'll go. But only because you asked. The drive to my house was silent. My father didn't say a word, just drove with his eyes fixed on the road. Grandma was in the front seat, also quiet, but every now and then she looked back to give me an encouraging smile. When we arrived, I saw my mother's car in the garage. She was home, which meant she had left work early. That was either very good or very bad. We went inside and found my mother and Camila sitting in the living room. My mother looked exhausted, with deep dark circles and her hair tied up carelessly. Camila was on the couch, hugging a pillow with red eyes. When they saw me, Camila immediately looked away. My mother stood up, but didn't come to hug me. Sophia, she said, her voice tired. Thank you for coming. I didn't respond. I just stood near the door, my backpack still on my back, ready to leave at any moment. Let's sit, Grandma said, indicating the chairs. Everyone. We need to talk like adults. She's not an adult, my father muttered, but Grandma silenced him with a look. I sat in the chair farthest from the couch where Camila was. My father settled into the armchair. My mother returned to her place beside Camila, and Grandma stood, as if presiding over a meeting. All right, Grandma began. Let's establish the facts. The jewels were found in Camila's room. Sophia was falsely accused. Sophia was kicked out of the house. Now, does anyone want to explain how we got to this point? The silence that followed was thick, almost palpable. Finally, Camila spoke with that whiny voice she used when she wanted to seem like the victim. I don't know how the jewels ended up in my closet. I swear. Someone must have put them there. Who? Grandma asked. I don't know. Maybe. Maybe Sophia put them there to frame me. I let out an exasperated sigh. Seriously, Camila? You think anyone here actually believes that? Why would I lie? She whimpered. Because you always lie. I exploded. You spend years putting me in situations, blaming me for things you did, destroying my life little by little, and now you want me to believe you're innocent. Sophia, lower your voice, my father ordered. No, Grandma intervened. Let her speak, Ricardo. From what I understand, this girl has been silenced for too long. I took a deep breath, trying to control the anger bubbling inside me. Camila, I know it was you. You always do this. Since we were little. You break something and say it was me. You lose something and say I hid it. And now you steal Grandma's jewels and try to blame me. You do this because you know our parents always believe you. That's not true, my mother spoke, but her voice lacked conviction. Yes, it is, I said, turning to her. You always believed her. Always. No matter how many times I tried to explain, how many times I said she was lying. You chose to believe her and disbelieve me. You were always more problematic, my father began, but Grandma cut him off. Ricardo, shut up. Just shut up. He was so shocked that he actually went quiet. Grandma turned to Camila. Girl, I've known you since you were born. And I know when you're lying. That little voice you use. This way of pretending innocence. I've seen it 1,000 times. So I'm going to give you a chance now. One chance to be honest. Did you take the jewels? Camila looked around, as if seeking support. But even my mother was looking at her with a different expression now. Less protection, more doubt. I didn't, she began. Yes or no, Grandma insisted. And then, to my complete surprise, Camila started crying. Not the fake dramatic crying she always used, but real, desperate crying. I took them, she sobbed. I took them, okay? I needed money and I thought no one would notice right away. I was going to return them later, I swear. But when Mom noticed the jewels were missing, I panicked and blamed your sister, Grandma completed, without an ounce of sympathy in her voice. Camila nodded, covering her face with her hands. The silence that followed was absolute. My father had gone pale. My mother looked at Camila as if seeing her for the first time, and I felt a strange mixture of vindication and sadness. I knew it, I said quietly. I always knew. Camila kept crying. My mother finally stood up and came to me. Sophia, I'm so sorry. We should have believed you. But I took a step back when she tried to touch me. You should have, I agreed. But you didn't. And it wasn't just this time, Mom. It was for years. Years of me being blamed, punished, ignored. And you never, not once, stopped to consider that maybe, just maybe, I was telling the truth. My father finally spoke. We made a mistake. But you're still part of this family. Am I? I asked, and my voice was too calm, too cold. Because when I was walking out that door 3 days ago, you said I wouldn't be welcome back. Remember? He looked away. You kicked me out. You accused me of something horrible, called the police, treated me like a criminal. All based on her word. I pointed at Camila. And now you want me to just come back? As if nothing happened. What do you want us to do? My mother asked, and there was desperation in her voice. I began, but stopped. What did I want? An apology wasn't going to erase years of pain. Camila's confession wasn't going to give me back my childhood. And even if they begged for my forgiveness, would that change anything? I need time, I said finally. I need to think about all of this. Are you coming back home? My mother asked. I looked around the room. The house where I grew up, where I played, where I learned to read and play piano. But also the house where I was constantly belittled, where my voice never mattered, where I learned that sometimes even your own family can abandon you. I don't know, I answered honestly. But if I come back, things are going to have to be different. Very different. And I'm not talking about empty words or promises you'll forget in a week. What do you want? My father asked. And that's when I understood. Finally, I had the power. Not because I wanted revenge or wanted to make them suffer, but because for the first time in my life, they were really listening. And I had a lot to say. I looked at each of them. My father, tense in the armchair. My mother, standing in the middle of the room with her hands clasped. Camila, still sobbing on the couch. And Grandma Lucia, watching me with that expression of silent support. What I want, I began slowly, is for you to understand what you did. Not just now with the jewels, but for years. 15 years of being the invisible daughter, the problematic one, the liar. 15 years hearing that I was wrong when I knew I was right. I walked to the window, looking at the backyard where we used to play as children. Do you want to know why I needed money, Camila? I asked without turning around. She sniffled, but didn't answer. Because you always had everything. New clothes, new phone, allowance that was never late. I had to beg for anything. And when I asked, there was always an excuse. We're tight this month, Sophia. You don't need that now. But for you, there always was. We didn't make a difference between you two. My mother tried to argue, but her voice was weak. Yes, you did. I turned to face her. In everything. In attention, in money, in trust. Camila was the perfect one, and I was. What was left over? Grandma Lucia approached and placed her hand on my shoulder. Continue, dear. I took a deep breath. If I come back to this house, and that's a huge if, things need to change. First, Camila is going to confess. Not just about the jewels, but about everything. All the lies she told about me over the years. Sophia, that was a long time ago. Camila began. Don't interrupt me. My voice came out firmer than I expected. You're going to make a list. Of every time you lied about me, of every situation you put me in. And you're going to show it to our parents. All the details. That's ridiculous, my father protested. It's necessary, Grandma retorted. Continue, Sophia. Second, you're going to take me back to school and apologize publicly to Dr. Mariana and to the social worker. You're going to explain that it was all a misunderstanding, that I didn't steal anything, and that you made a serious mistake in accusing me. My mother went pale. Sophia, that's going to be embarrassing. Embarrassing, I repeated, feeling the anger return. And do you think it wasn't embarrassing for me to be accused of theft? To have to leave home? To sleep on a friend's couch because my own parents kicked me out? She lowered her eyes. Third, I want family therapy. For all of us. A real therapist. Not just a half-hour conversation where you pretend everything's fine. I want us to actually work through these issues. My father shook his head. We're not going to air our dirty laundry with strangers. Then I'm not coming back, I replied simply. It's that simple. Either you accept that we need professional help, or I pursue the alternatives the social worker offered me. What alternatives? My mother asked, alarmed. Youth shelter, Assisted living for young people. Emancipation, eventually. There are options. The silence that followed was heavy. Grandma Lucia smiled slightly proud. But my parents seemed to be processing a new world they didn't know existed. Sophia, you can't be serious, my father said. You're 15 years old. Exactly. I'm 15 years old and you put me in a situation where I had to grow up very fast. I learned that I can't depend on you. That I need to protect myself. And if that means living away from this family, then so be it. Camila finally raised her head. Her eyes were swollen and red, but there was something different in them now. Fear, perhaps. Or the first spark of real understanding. Sophia, I'm sorry, she said, and for the first time in years, she seemed genuine. I didn't realize how much I was hurting you. I liked the attention. Being the favorite. And it got easier to blame you because nobody ever questioned it. I know, I replied. And that's exactly the problem. It wasn't just you, Camila. It was our parents, too, for letting it happen. For never really listening to me. My mother sat heavily on the couch, as if her legs could no longer support her. I failed you. We failed. Yes, you did. How can we fix this? She asked, and there were tears streaming down her face now. I just told you. You accept my conditions, or I leave. And this time, I'm not coming back. Grandma sat down next to me. Ricardo, Beatriz, you need to understand something. This girl here isn't making absurd demands. She's asking for the minimum that any daughter deserves. To be heard, to be respected, to be believed. If you can't give her that, then maybe it really is better for her to find a place where she can have that. My father looked at Grandma with an expression that mixed anger and shame. You're on her side? I'm on the side of truth, Grandma replied calmly. And the truth is that you treated this girl terribly. Not just now, but for years. And if you can't admit that and work to change, then yes, I'm on her side. There was a long moment of silence. I could see my father struggling internally, his pride battling against reality. My mother just cried softly. Okay, my father finally said, his voice hoarse. Okay, we'll do it your way. You'll do the therapy? I insisted. Yes. And go to the school to apologize? He hesitated, but eventually agreed. Yes. And you, Camila? Will you make the list? My sister wiped her tears. I will. I promise I will. I looked at each of them, trying to assess whether they were being sincere or just saying what I wanted to hear. It was impossible to know for sure. But I had given my ultimatum. The ball was in their court now. There's one more thing, I said. I want my own key to the house. And I want a space that's just mine. No Camila coming into my room without permission. No going through my things. Real privacy. That seems fair, Grandma commented. My mother nodded. You can have the key. And we'll respect your space. And one last thing, I continued, feeling like I was pushing my luck but needing to say it anyway. I want an apology. A real one. Not a casual sorry thrown in the air. I want you to look me in the eyes and say, with sincerity, that you're sorry for what you did. My mother was first. She stood up and came to me, with tears flowing freely now. She held my hands and looked me in the eyes. Sophia, my daughter, I'm so sorry. So very sorry. I should have protected you. I should have listened to you. I should have been a better mother to you. Forgive me for all the times I failed you. For all the times I chose the lie instead of you. I felt my own throat tighten. I didn't expect the words to affect me so much, but they did. My father approached next. He seemed to have aged 10 years in the last few hours. Sophia, I'm not good with words. But I was wrong. Very wrong. I kicked you out of the house, accused you of something you didn't do, didn't believe you when I should have. I'm sorry. Really. I nodded, accepting his words even knowing that forgiveness would take time. Camila was last. She approached hesitantly, as if afraid I would push her away. Sophia, I destroyed your life for years. I know that now. I made you suffer because it was easier than dealing with my own problems. I wanted to be perfect in their eyes, and using you as a scapegoat was convenient. But it wasn't right. It never was. And I'm sorry. So sorry. I don't expect you to forgive me now, or maybe ever. But I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to make up for it. I looked at her. The sister who had been my best friend as children. The same person who had become my tormentor. And now, perhaps, someone who was finally beginning to understand the weight of her actions. Thank you, was all I could say. Grandma Lucia stood up. Very well. Now, Sophia, are you staying here tonight? I thought for a moment. No, not yet. I'm going back to Luna's house. But can I come get some clothes? Of course, my mother said quickly. Of course you can. I went up to my room for the first time in days. It was exactly as I had left it. My unmade bed, my posters on the wall, my guitar in the corner. I grabbed some more clothes and some books I would need for school. As I was leaving, I saw the music box that Grandma had given me when I was 8 years old. I took that too. I came downstairs with my backpack full. Everyone was still in the living room, as if they were afraid to move. "I'm leaving," I announced. "When are you coming back?" my mother asked. "I don't know yet. I need time to process all of this. But I'll be at school tomorrow. And I expect to see you there at lunchtime to talk with Dr. Mariana." "We'll be there," my father promised. Grandma walked me to the door. Outside, she hugged me tight. "You were very brave in there. Very mature. I'm proud of you." "Thank you, Grandma. For everything. For believing in me. Always, my dear. Always." I walked back to Luna's house as the sun began to set. The sky was tinged with orange and pink, and for the first time in weeks, I felt something like peace. It wasn't complete happiness. The wounds were too deep to heal so quickly. But it was a beginning. Luna was waiting for me at the door when I arrived. "So, how did it go?" "Intense," I replied. "I'll tell you everything." We spent the night talking, eating pizza that her mother ordered, and trying to understand everything that had happened. It was a lot to process. The next day, I went to school with a knot in my stomach. I didn't know if my parents would actually show up or if they had changed their minds during the night. But at noon, when I went to Dr. Mariana's office, they were there. My mother and father, sitting in uncomfortable chairs, looking completely out of place. The meeting was difficult. My parents had to explain the whole situation, admit that they had made false accusations, that they had kicked me out of the house unjustly. Dr. Mariana and Sandra, the social worker, listened to everything with professional expressions, but I could see the veiled judgment in their eyes. "Do you understand the gravity of what you did?" Sandra asked when they finished. "You put a minor in a situation of extreme vulnerability. She could have ended up in a very dangerous situation." "We understand," my mother said quietly. "And we're willing to do whatever is necessary to repair this." "Family therapy is a good start," Dr. Mariana commented. "But this will take time. And Sophia needs to feel safe throughout the process." "I have a question," I said, and everyone turned to me. "If I decide not to go home immediately, can you help with that? Make the situation at Luna's house official until I feel ready?" Sandra nodded. "We can work on a temporary custody arrangement with your friend's family, if they agree. Everything would be formalized and legal." I looked at my parents. My mother seemed about to protest, but my father placed his hand over hers and shook his head. "If that's what Sophia needs, then that's fine," he said, and I saw the effort it cost him to say that. In the following weeks, things began to fall into a new pattern. I continued living with Luna and her family, which was formalized through social services. My parents started therapy, first together, then individually. And then we started family therapy, once a week. The first sessions were tense and uncomfortable. Many tears, many painful truths being told. The therapist, Dr. Helena, didn't let anyone run from the difficult issues. She asked questions that forced us to face the dysfunctional patterns we had created over the years. Camila also started individual therapy. And surprisingly, she took the task of making the list seriously. One afternoon, 2 weeks after the big confrontation, she sent me a message asking to meet at a coffee shop near the school. I went hesitantly, but curious. When I arrived, she was already there, with a notebook in front of her and an untouched cup of coffee. "Hi," she said when I sat down. "Hi." I made the list. She pushed the notebook in my direction. Everything I could remember. And there's probably more that I forgot or that I blocked because it was too horrible to admit. I opened the notebook with trembling hands. Page after page of careful handwriting, detailing every lie, every manipulation, every time she had thrown me under the bus. The glass that broke when you were 8, I threw it on the floor playing ball inside the house. The money that disappeared from Mom's purse when you were 10, I took it to buy makeup. The math test that disappeared from your backpack in elementary school, I tore it up because I was jealous of your grades. The list went on and on. It was years of manipulation documented in cursive handwriting. I felt tears burn my eyes as I read. "Why?" I asked when I finished. "Why did you do all this?" Camila was crying now too. "Because I was scared. Scared of not being good enough. Dad was always so hard, so demanding. And I discovered that if I was perfect, if I never made a mistake, he wouldn't yell at me. But to seem perfect, I needed you to seem imperfect. And the more I did it, the easier it got. It became a sick habit. "You destroyed my childhood," I said, my voice breaking. "You made me feel like I was crazy, like I was a liar, like I was worthless." "I know. And nothing I say will fix that. But I showed this list to our parents. And to Dr. Helena. Everyone knows now." I closed the notebook. "Thank you for doing this. I know it wasn't easy. It was the least I could do." We sat in silence for a moment, two sisters who no longer knew how to talk to each other. "Do you think you'll ever be able to forgive me?" Camila asked in a low voice. "I don't know," I answered honestly. "But maybe one day we can build something new. Not what we had before, but something different. More honest." She nodded, wiping her tears. "That's more than I deserve." The months passed. Therapy continued. Slowly, very slowly, things began to change. My father learned to listen more and yell less. My mother learned not to always take the side of the person who spoke first. Camila learned to deal with her insecurities in healthier ways. And me? I learned that I had value, that my voice mattered, that I didn't need to accept crumbs of affection or live in fear of being discarded. After 3 months living with Luna's family, I decided to try going back home. It was a difficult decision, and I only did it because I saw real changes. They weren't dramatic changes, but they were consistent. My parents were really trying. The first night back was strange. My room was exactly as I had left it, but now it had a new lock on the door, something I had asked for and that my parents installed without question. It was a small but significant symbol that they respected my privacy now. Dinner was quiet, but not uncomfortable. We talked about mundane things, school, work, plans for the weekend. Nobody tried to pretend that everything was perfect. But nobody was running from the problems either. After dinner, my mother asked me to talk in the backyard. We sat on the porch steps, looking at the stars. "Sophia, I wanted to tell you something," she began. I read the list that Camila made. I read it several times. And each time I read it, I hate myself a little more for not having noticed. For not having protected you. Mom. No, let me finish. I spent years failing you. And there's no excuse for that. But I want you to know that I'm committed to changing. Not just for you, but because it's the right thing to do. You deserve a mother who listens to you, who believes in you, who is on your side. "Thank you," was all I could say. She hugged me, and this time I let her. It wasn't a hug that fixed everything. But it was a beginning. Things didn't magically become perfect. There were still difficult days. Days when old patterns tried to resurface. Days when Camila fell back into her manipulative habits, or my father raised his voice without thinking. But the difference was that now, when that happened, it wasn't swept under the rug. It was discussed, worked through, resolved. School also got better. With my parents having officially apologized and explained the situation, the rumors about me stopped. People began to see me as I really was, not as the problem girl who had robbed her own family. I made new friends. I joined the debate club and discovered I was good at arguing. Years of having to defend my version of the story had given me that skill. I even got a partial scholarship in a young leadership program that would help me prepare for college. Camila and I began to rebuild our relationship, brick by brick. We were no longer the best friends we had been as children, and maybe we never would be again. But we developed a mutual respect. She stopped lying about me, and I stopped seeing her only as my enemy. One afternoon, about 6 months after everything had happened, we were sitting in my room. She had asked permission to enter, another small but significant progress, and she asked me a question. "Sophia, do you think I'm a bad person?" I thought carefully before answering. "No. I think you're a person who did bad things. But you're also working to be better. And that counts." She smiled, with tears in her eyes. "Thank you for not giving up on us." There were moments when I almost did, I admitted. But I think deep down, I still had hope. Hope that things could change. And they did. Yes, they did. That night, during dinner, my father made an announcement. "Everyone, Dr. Helena said we're making good progress in therapy. She suggested that maybe it's time to start reconnecting as a family in lighter ways. How about a weekend away? Camping, maybe?" My first reaction was skepticism. But then I saw the hopeful expression on his face, the way my mother was smiling timidly, how Camila seemed genuinely excited about the idea. "Okay," I agreed. "But no pretending we're the perfect family. If anyone has a problem, we talk about it." "Deal." "Deal," everyone said in unison. The camping weekend was interesting. There were good moments when we made marshmallows by the campfire and told funny stories. There were uncomfortable moments when old tensions arose and we had to pause and talk about them. And there were moments of genuine healing, like when my father admitted, for the first time, that he had favored Camila because she reminded him of his late mother, and that he had been unfair to me because of that. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. And real was better than perfect. When we got back home, something had changed. It wasn't that all the problems had been solved, but there was a new foundation of trust being built. Still fragile, but growing stronger every day. A few months later, something unexpected happened. I was in my room doing homework when I heard knocking on the door. "Come in," I said absent-mindedly. It was Camila, and she was holding something in her hands, a small wrapped box. "What's this?" I asked. "A gift. Or rather, a return." I opened the box, and inside was a delicate necklace with a small star-shaped pendant. I recognized it immediately. It was mine. I had received it from Grandma Lucia when I turned 13, and it had disappeared a few months later. "You took this?" I asked, though I already knew the answer. "Yes." I was jealous because Grandma never gave me one like it, so I took yours and hid it. "Sorry. I know this was years ago, but it was still wrong." I picked up the necklace, feeling its familiar weight in my hand. "Thank you for returning it." "There's more," she said hesitantly. "I had a diary where I wrote down the bad things I did. Like a secret confession, you know? I thought I had destroyed it, but I found it at the back of my closet. Do you want to read it?" "No," I replied, surprising myself. "I don't need to. I already know what happened. And you've already apologized." Sometimes continuing to dig up the past just prevents us from moving forward. Camila looked relieved. "Are you sure?" "I am." "But Camila? If you do this again to anyone, I won't stay quiet. And I won't protect you." "I know. And I won't. I promise." After she left, I put on the necklace. I looked at my reflection in the mirror, and for a moment, I saw the 13-year-old girl I had been, scared, always defensive, always wondering what she had done wrong. But that girl didn't exist anymore. In her place was a 16-year-old young woman who had learned to stand up for herself, who had found her voice, who had survived her own family's betrayal and come out stronger on the other side. It wasn't a story of dramatic revenge. I didn't destroy Camila's life or make my parents suffer in cruel ways. The real revenge, I realized, was refusing to be broken by them. It was rebuilding my life, establishing boundaries, demanding respect. It was becoming the person I wanted to be, despite everything that had happened. The revenge was living well. It was thriving. It was loving myself when they couldn't. A few years later, when I was preparing to go to college, with a full scholarship I had earned on my own merit, my family threw a farewell dinner. Grandma Lucia came, of course. And to my surprise, Luna and her parents were also invited. During dinner, my father asked to make a toast. He raised his glass and looked directly at me. "Sophia, I made many mistakes as a father. Mistakes that almost lost you forever. But you gave us a second chance. You taught us what it means to be a real family. Not a perfect family, but an honest family. So this toast is for you. For your courage, your strength, and your heart generous enough to forgive us when we didn't deserve it." Everyone raised their glasses, and I felt tears in my eyes, but this time, they were good tears. "Thank you," I said when everyone sat back down. "But I didn't do this alone. Grandma, thank you for believing in me when no one else did. Luna and family, thank you for taking me in when I had nowhere to go. And Mom, Dad, Camila, thank you for finally choosing to change. I know it wasn't easy." I looked around the table, at all those faces that meant so much to me. Some had hurt me deeply. Others had saved me. But all were part of my story. "I'm not going to pretend I forgot what happened," I continued. "Those months were the worst of my life. I felt abandoned, betrayed, invisible. But they also taught me something important, that I'm stronger than I imagined. That I can survive even when the people who should love me let me fall. And that's a gift in a twisted sort of way." Camila was crying openly now. "Sophia, I know," I said gently. "I know." My mother stood up and came to hug me. "You've become an incredible woman. And I'm proud to be your mother, even though I didn't deserve that title for a long time." "You deserve it now," I replied. "You all deserve it now. Because you worked for it. You truly changed." The rest of the night passed in a haze of conversations, laughter, and occasional tears. When everyone left and I was alone in my room, packing the last things for college, I found the diary I had started writing during those days at Luna's house. I opened to the first page and read, "My name is Sophia, and today I discovered that my family doesn't want me anymore. I don't know what to do. I don't know who I am without them." I picked up a pen and wrote underneath, "Update. I discovered who I was. And it was someone incredible. I closed the diary and put it in the box. Tomorrow I would leave to start a new chapter. But this time, I was carrying much more than pain and resentment. I was taking with me the lessons learned, the relationships rebuilt, and most importantly, the absolute certainty of my own worth. I looked out the window at the street where I had walked alone so many times, lost and scared. But I wasn't lost anymore. I knew exactly who I was and where I was going. And when I finally turned off the light and lay down to sleep my last night in that house, I did so with a smile on my face. Because the best revenge wasn't destroying those who hurt me. It was refusing to be destroyed. It was surviving, growing, thriving. It was becoming everything they said I would never be. And it was finally forgiving, not because they deserved it, but because I deserved peace. That was my revenge. And it was perfect. If this story touched you in some way, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more stories of overcoming injustice. Your comments and support make all the difference for other people who may be going through similar situations. Until the next story.